Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Full Package RC. I'm Bob Heaster, joined by Mr. Mike Sobey
Hey, what's up, guys?
and Aaron Heaster.
What's going on?
And tonight, it's going to be a little bit of a mixture of stuff. We're going to kind of go over maybe a recap of the Heli Spring Fling Fun Fly in Virginia, kind of do a little BS and catch up with the boys and see what they've been up to. It's been a little bit longer than we wanted to go since we recorded last episode. So kind of see where everybody's at. And then we're going to get into some fun stuff of learning to fly, the steps you would take, what we all think, what our opinions, what our 2 cents are of how to start
not to take
and go beginner to intermediate. What's that?
steps not to take.
And yep, steps not to take, things people not to listen to, stuff like that. So let's start with you want to go first, Mike, Aaron? What's been going on lately? What you been up to since our last
Aaron,
recording?
you can go ahead if you want.
Had a busy past couple weeks. Biggest thing I'd say is initially was supposed to be at the Spring Fling with my dad here, and ended up hitting a drift event in West Virginia. If anyone is familiar with drifting, a very popular event. Final bout. It was Final Bout 7, Special Stage East. So I ended up going there. Just spectated, didn't drive. I plan on driving it next year. Great event, awesome. I had an absolute blast. It gives very similar vibes to like a helicopter fun fly where everyone's just having fun. It's kind of just like a big party, and it was a great event. Haven't gotten out and done flying in the past 2 weeks, but been doing more real car, drift related sort of things, and that was a really cool event.
So it's still big boys playing with big toys.
Yeah.
Yep. Just different toys, smoking
more
tires,
toys, and it sounds like from what you told me, I missed out. Exactly, smoking rubber. It sounds like from my dad here, I missed out on a killer event at the Spring Fling, and I'm quite jealous of that. But I'm definitely envious of that. So that's really what I've been up to, just drift events and working on broken cars and normal life stuff. Mike, what have you been up to?
Well, first I gotta say something, Bob. We need to find out where he looks up these drift events and make sure there's nothing going on around the time we need him to come to IRCHA with you this year.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to figure that one out.
I have 4.5 weeks of vacation, so I have no excuse to not be at IRCHA with my dad this year.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yep.
No excuses.
And no drift events. It doesn't look like, so I should be good for IRCHA.
We could drift you around the IRCHA 500 track.
Yeah, I don't know if my car would make it that far. I don't know if my car would make the 10 or 12 hour drive. I think I'd be making a lot of fixes along the way.
Yeah.
You'd be hitchhiking to get there.
That would be a really bumpy, miserable ride to drive to street drive my car there.
It would not be fun, I don't think. So what you been up to, though, Mike?
So what have I been up to? Let's see. I bought a raw 420. I don't know if I mentioned that on the last episode we did or not.
I don't
kind of
think so.
On the fence of picking up something smaller.
Nice.
So just to kind of a background, I'm not sure if I went over all this already or not, but this year I'm kind of trying to spend some time with my airplane stuff, and I've been getting back into bike riding and stuff again this summer, so trying to get myself in shape. I'm getting older now, moving slower, trying to keep my blood flowing, and in that plan I wound up unloading a lot of my helicopters that I had, and I want to get down to like a minimalist fleet, which I was hoping would consist of just my Gaui X3 and my little OMP stuff. I could just kind of toss in the car quick and easy, go out, knock out a couple batteries, and head home.
You need something
bigger.
I did
that. What's that?
You need to have at least something bigger.
I'm already getting that itch, and I'm not even a month into this new plan that I had. But I took the X3 out. It was not the greatest. It's been a while since I flew it. I love that helicopter. It flies really well. I don't know if it's just because I've been spending so much time on my 700 Nitro stuff last summer and then into the fall, and I have neglected to fly the X3 for a while, and it's just wasn't quite a fan of how it was flying. So I went home immediately, jumped on the internet, and I'm like, I need something a little bit bigger, and wound up finding I had enough stuff laying around I could put together a 420 and just have to order the airframe. So that's what I did. Ordered a 420, put it together, took it out. Took it out and flew it.
Nice.
It's okay. It's really light, like super, super light. I don't know if I just need to get in the small helicopter mindset, and I only got 2 flights on it, so I'm not really giving it much time or justice. But I'm gonna put some flights on it, try to force myself to take it out and keep putting flights on it to see if it's gonna stick around or not. But I think Bob's right. I think I need something bigger. I think I screwed up by getting rid of the bigger stuff. So maybe a 550 class nitro or something might have been the sweet spot for me.
Nah, just do electric. If you want to keep it simple, just do electric. Then you don't have to worry about the fuel and all that other stuff. Just get a good electric.
Nope.
Agreed.
Get out of here with that nonsense.
Uh-huh. You just got to work on the setup. You'll get the setup right. You can get it to feel, like you want it to.
Nope.
You're one of them hardcore nitro boys.
Good 12S600.
Spent 2-3 years trying to make an electric feel like a nitro. It's not possible.
Well, you spent it. You got to let somebody else make the adjustments and then give it to you, and you can be the pilot, and then we can get it to where you want it.
Oh, okay.
I'll work with you on it. That's fine.
All right.
You can't make an electric feel softer.
You can.
Nitros always feel really soft.
There's ways to do it.
Like I tried low head speed. I tried real low collective endpoints, like the max pitch throw, whatever you want to call it. Like 9 degrees, and was still. It's not so much. I don't know. It's how the power delivery that's there is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, you like it a little smoother. You don't like that harshness of the electric.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about it. I can't. You just can't tune it out of it.
Yeah.
At least I can't.
Well, then worst case, you just get yourself a nitro.
Yeah.
More power. Just turn the needle. Lean her out.
That's right. That's right.
I got some Blade 600Xs here that, they're not snappy. They're pretty smooth and slow and, and that's not a knock on the 600X. Don't get me wrong. Anybody, that's heard me talk about Blade, I like those helis. I like the way they fly, and we can crank them up again to get them to go a little bit more, but it's just the way that heli flies.
Yeah. I've never flown any of the bigger Blade stuff.
Yeah, it's not bad. I've had it out there with you guys a couple times.
Yeah.
Bring it out and let you riff on it sometime.
I've cheap.
Oh, I'm sure. Can't crash it more than once, though.
Well, you can. You just gotta glue the super glue the frames.
Yeah, that may or may not be done on these.
That's funny.
Extra pieces and glued to it and supported, but hey, whatever, it works. Gets the job done. All right, so that's it for you, Goblin 420. Working your way into something bigger.
Yeah, Goblin 420. I took out my Amazon basher, dude. That thing is amazing.
Back on this Amazon basher again.
You could hate on it all you want. That thing rips.
We're gonna hate on that thing.
That thing rips, man. I've been having so much fun with that thing. Dana's been getting it to do backflips.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Did you get your drift car out?
I did not.
And when's that?
Don't even have scratches on the tires yet.
Yeah, would you buy it and never use it?
Well, I'm waiting for you to come tune it for me.
You got to come out here, then you can use our track here. You can do the basement track with us, or we can hit the RC Car World about an hour and a half from here.
I'll just herd all my dogs into your basement with us.
That's fine. Or get that's what they have dog sitters for and kennels. Just board them for a weekend and come out here.
My lab would be fine going to a kennel. The border collie's he's a little aggressive.
The lab is Hank.
Hank, yeah.
Yeah. Hank's pretty chill.
Hank. He's cool.
He's a big baby. But the other one, he does not like anybody else but me and Dana. Doesn't like other dogs. He gets pretty aggressive.
He was okay with me until I tried to walk into your camper.
Yeah, he was okay for a while. Like when we first he was a rescue dog. And when we first got him, he was great. Yeah. Like we took him over, the parents' house. He would come and hang out, whatever. And then as he got more comfortable, he started getting more and more protective over us. Now he's like, you can't even walk past our house, and he's going nuts.
Oh, okay.
Like angrily going nuts, not just barking because he sees somebody. It's pretty crazy. So we got plans to take him in, get him some real training. It's very expensive, so we got to wait till we sock enough money away to get it done. But it's kind of
a little fun fly bodyguard.
Yeah. So that's why when we go to Fun Flies, we bring the camper because we can kind of keep track of them, keep them tied up at the camper or whatever. So nobody's. I just worry somebody's gonna walk by and I'm not paying attention and try to pet them or something.
Yeah, you don't want that. That's for sure.
No.
Just gotta hang some caution tape around your camper.
What's that?
Get some caution tape and hang around your camper.
Yeah.
Put your beware of
tripwire.
Yeah, there you go, tripwire.
Get all the twisted T cans.
And
tie
we're
them
back.
on a string.
I can easily,
See, we're right back
I
to
can
Twisted.
easily get those up for you.
And with time to a string, so when somebody's walking up to it, it'll get stuck on their shoe and they'll drag it and make noise.
That's straight. That's some stuff straight out The Walking Dead right there.
All right.
That's how they.
Yep.
That's how they check for zombies too. You know when they're coming. Alrighty.
He saves lives, baby.
That's
What have
pretty
you been
much
up
it, man. Work's
All
been
right.
kicking my ass. So
Yeah, I hear that. I think all three of us that's been going on.
yeah, it's been pretty rough. But
So
what's going on with Bob?
I got to go. Finally, I haven't been doing enough fun flies and was able to get down to Virginia to Robbie Campbell Memorial Field for the 2024 Heli Spring Fling. And man, it was good. Lots of cool people I hadn't seen for a long time. Met some new people. That's the coolest part of it, is just meeting new people and talking to them, what they have, how they've flown, how long they've been in the hobby. Just all kinds of stuff. Weather was great for Friday. It was amazing. And then a cold front moved in, and we got cold real quick at night. Made me real glad I had a nice warm hotel room to go back to. That was for sure. If I had been doing the tent thing, I probably just wouldn't have done the tent thing. I would have slept in my car or went and got a hotel. But yeah, it was pretty good. Saturday was a misty, rainy, kind of crummy day, but people were still flying.
Wasn't it like 90 degrees down there?
Friday was really warm, yeah, and people were walking around in like muscle shirts and shorts, and everybody's really warm. But by Friday night, I know we were sitting by the fire. They had the fire roaring. I had a hoodie on, pulled up over my head, and I just couldn't get warm. It dropped. The temperature dropped really fast. And then because it was so warm during the day, I think it made you feel even colder at night. So we weren't quite ready for that when that cold front moved in. It was like the storm and weather coming in. But pretty much, in true fashion, here, let me see if we can sum this up here. This'll sum up maybe some of the flying. I don't know if that came across too good. Trying to open a can.
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, really? No.
That was a really bad can crack.
Yeah, it
so
did.
You didn't fly at all, is what I got out of that.
No. We flew.
Okay.
I actually got, for me, I probably got like at least 8, maybe 10 flights in on Friday alone.
Really?
Which was amazing for me, because usually when I'm at Fun Flies, I'm more busy talking, hanging out with everybody. But I actually got quite a few flights on. I have this Goblin 770 I've been kind of working at, trying to play with head speeds and figure out. I got that dialed in a little more. Flew my Steam AK700. That thing was amazing. My Steam 550. That thing was great. And yeah, just had a good time going out ripping. It was in the morning. It's nice at that field. If you've never been, they have like 2 fields. So the one side isn't the greatest in the morning, but if you're a little later in morning, it's actually good to fly. And then everybody flies on the back field in the morning because the sun's not in your face. And then they later in the day come over to the front field. So it's there's plenty of flight lines, plenty of people. They have a kitchen there. Just a great place overall to go. If you've never been there before, I definitely highly recommend going to check that place out. And it was good. Actually got to meet Simone in person, face to face. That was actually pretty cool, meeting her. She was a lot of fun. And then actually talked to a number of people that I've communicated, through Facebook and other stuff that I've met before. We didn't talk too much, but I got to talk to them a whole lot as well. So it was a pretty good time. I really enjoyed myself, and it was, like I said, it was nice reconnecting with more people in the heli community again, and just kind of getting back out there, out there at things, learning more of what's going on. And then the coolest thing was, as every event, they always have their raffles, and so usually what I do when I get to an event, I sign up for the event. If they have raffle tickets, I'll buy some. So I bought $20 worth of raffle tickets, and then mid-Saturday, I went back, bought another $20 worth of raffle tickets. I figured it's benefiting a good club. They had some jars. You could just sort of pick, what you wanted to put your tickets in for. So I did that, and $40 in raffle tickets won me a Tron 7.0 dynamic helicopter kit. So
yeah.
I figured $40 spent for an $800 kit wasn't too bad.
Man, you have like a full new fleet this year.
I do actually. Yeah, that's what's funny is because not that long ago when I was went through a little bit of the burnout, I sold some of my stuff off, and I have enough helis that would have had to sell a lot off to get rid of all of them. But I sold a number of the bigger ones off, and now I'm right back up to, a bunch of them again, but new stuff. So yeah, I got some
Awesome.
got some cool machines to fly. It's pretty cool. So, and I'm like a big kid when it comes to, stuff like that. When I look at a heli kit, I just can't keep it sitting in the box, and I'm looking around going, okay, I actually have a speed controller, I have a motor, I have most everything I need. The only thing I didn't have was servos. And in my head, I'm like, wow, I just got to order servos, and I have everything to build this kit and make it happen. So I sat down to start working on this heli, and next thing you know, it's built. Probably one of the easiest helis I had ever built. Very low parts count. I don't know exactly what the number would be. I'd almost curious to find out, but was blown away because it was funny because I did an unboxing for it for my YouTube channel and was kind of caught off guard because when I opened everything up, there's a nice big box for the canopy, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty sweet. And then I opened another box, and I'm like, okay, this box is empty. And then I pulled out another thing, and there just wasn't much there. And then there's one box left. And I'm like, okay, I have side frames, a tail boom, and a canopy so far. I've got nothing else. I opened up this other little box. In it was some parts and another box. Well, when I pulled that box out, that one was empty. So all the empty boxes were just for packaging purposes. And I dumped the parts out on the table, and I'm looking at them just thinking, man, oh man, this is going to be, interesting. Very low parts count. So
you thought you won somebody's returned helicopter for
maybe.
a minute.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me. But so I went through a bunch of, am I going to do a 6S 700, a 12S 700 with the equipment I had? And the motor I had and batteries, we're going to go 12S. So it's going to be a 12S 700, lightweight 700, and should rip pretty good.
Nice.
For me, I'm sure it'll do my normal stuff, but when I hand it off to somebody else to beat on, I'm sure, they'll be happy with it. So we'll see how that goes.
I really want to point out here and really emphasize on, I guess I am very much so your bad luck at fun flies, because I've been to what feels like a million fun flies together, and I don't think I've ever seen you win a single item. Mm-hmm. Every single fun fly I'm not at, you win. Good product. It's amazing.
Yep. Oh, I know. That was a joke. That was kind of like an ongoing joke for a little while with us because I would always try raffles. I would always try all this stuff when we were at events. Nothing. And then as soon as you stopped going to events with me and you were off doing other stuff, I started winning.
He's cheating.
Me. I'm the problem, I suppose.
Apparently.
Did you put all your tickets in for the Tron, or did you just kind of sprinkle them?
3/4 of them went in for the Tron, yeah. So yeah. 3/4 of them went in for the Tron. The other 25% went in for, there were some BK servos. Would have been really cool if I'd won both because, that would have been great. But I will say my luck, though, is really good. Maybe I shouldn't say this because people might think I'm cheating. But my luck is really good down there for the spring events. Now, that was the first one I had been at since 2021. But if we go back and I might mess up the years here a little bit, but I think it was 2017. They did an event there where they did like a 10-day fun fly. It spanned over 2 different weekends. It was a massive undertaking for them, and I actually won a Goblin 420, which I still have because that's an awesome little heli. Yes. I won a Goblin 420, and in that same weekend, through one of the Facebook groups, I had won a Gaui X5. So I won 2 helis within one weekend, because that's actually going back to when I met you then, Mike. When I met you is when I got the Gaui at an event here near my place in Allentown, PA.
Yeah, because the Gaui was from when I was an admin for the CP Helis group on Facebook. We did that giveaway.
Yep, and because I got the call from who was the other guy that was doing it?
Dennis Delisle?
Yes. I was just gonna say I drew a blank, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I got a call from Dennis, and he's like, hey dude, he's like, you just won the heli. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And literally within half an hour, they were doing the raffles at the field. And what I didn't know is my wife went and bought me a whole bunch more raffle tickets because they had a nice big Charger case that I wanted to win. And it was basically over the same weekend as my birthday. So she bought me all these tickets for me to try to win this case. Well, the case came and went, and I'm like, oh, this is a bummer. I didn't get it. And at that point, they weren't you didn't put the tickets in for specific items. Next thing you know, they called my number for me to win this heli. And I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Well, then now we fast forward, I think it was 2 years later. It might have been 19, I think. And I was there again. I remember that one too. And then I won the Black Thunder Goblin kit. It
wasn't a Nitro kit?
It was a Nitro kit, yeah.
Yep.
So I won that as well there. And actually, it's kind of funny because all of them, I think, were sponsored and put in by BK. And then this year, the Tron was, through Bert as well at BK Hobbies. So... Nice. Yeah, I have very good luck with Spring Fling in that. It's great. I'll take it.
Is there an inside deal going on there? You greasing Bert somehow?
That's what I mean. When I say it that way, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, what the hell's going on here?" You know, something doesn't seem right. But no, it's there's no inside deals here. Bert, don't
Did you
tell
say
him.
degreasing?
Yeah, how are you greasing? Yeah, how are you greasing Bert up? That's a little suspicious. There, winning that much of Bert's product.
Are you mean like greasing? Because I don't think anybody wants to see Bert greased up. But I mean,
yeah, no, how you greasing his pockets?
You're setting up something else, a whole other world here. Hopefully, you get to listen to this. Somebody's got to clip this and send it to him. Us talking about Bert greased up.
Hands off my gimbals, Bob.
Stop. Man, oh man. Before we start recording, Mike's talking about stripping while he's flying. Now they're talking about greasing up Bert. Jeez.
Don't give out my secrets.
I know. This is getting crazy now. All right. Well, since we're all caught up now and all the stuff nobody really cared to hear, but since we're the ones recording, you get to hear it anyway. And that's just how it goes on this podcast. But one of the main things we wanted to kind of talk about is when you're new to the hobby. I know most people that are probably listening are not new. They've probably already been established in the hobby. But you can think back to how you started, what you did, or hopefully we got some new people listening, wondering what they need to do or what proper steps would be. So a lot of people have different varying opinions. What's the best way to go? I know when we started off, everybody was telling us, if you want to learn 3D, the worst thing to do is try to learn 3D on a small heli. You can't do that. And Aaron learned 3D on a Blade MCPX, which is a small heli, and I think it taught him amazing collective management, and it did a great job. So I get there's going to be different opinions, but I think we're going to kind of go over what we have, and we don't have anything kind of, as always on this podcast, we're very unscripted. I don't want to say unprofessional, but yeah, it kind of can be.
We're unprofessional.
Yeah, we just don't plan it out. So we're gonna kind of discuss this amongst ourselves and between the three of us, and we're gonna figure out what we agree on, what we disagree on, and then you can meet in the middle somewhere, and you can kind of take away from that what you will. And feel free to ever contact us if you have anything you ever want to add or you ever want to be on the show for something. So if we pick, I guess we'll start off by what would you guys pick for the number one thing that if you're new to the hobby, you're just coming in and you're going, I think I want to try helis. What's the first thing that you would buy, Aaron?
This is always been and still will be a controversial topic. I at least for beginner, intermediate, and lower to mid-level advanced, I would always say Blade. They are, at least from someone who's flown the product, I mean, for as long as I can remember, in a hobby shop perspective as well, they really keep parts around for quite a long time for their models. They're all, for the most part, very beginner friendly. I mean, if we look at their old lineup, what I learned on, starting off learning to hover on the Blade SR, then kind of moving up to the Blade CP, moving to my MCPX.
But if you were picking one heli out of the Blade, if you could only take one, and you're saying, okay, I know what you're saying is kind of a broad statement with Blade, and I get that, but if you're saying, okay, you had one, and I know we did it a while ago when we started, and you might not be familiar with the newer ones, but if you're getting one type of heli to start off with, what would it be if you want to do just a heli then?
If I were, as of this date in 2024, getting in, I really like the new Blade helicopter. What's the little new micro they just released? It's like a styrofoam body, and it looks like a full styrofoam canopy. It looks like it's a collective pitch.
Yeah.
Looks really, really nice. And helicopters like that, ones that you can learn the basics and not just learn and skip over, get really comfortable with. And they can kind of move you on. Like that helicopter that I saw some flight videos. A couple friends I'm with on Facebook did reviews and got them a little early. And all the flight videos, it looks like those take you really far. But inevitably, when you wreck them, they're going to be cheap. So I would start, honestly, with one of the newer Blade, like, I apologize, I'm blanking on the name, but that newer collective pitch heli they have, it really looks awesome.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah.
It's the Eclipse.
It's blue and silver.
Yeah, I'll have to disagree with you on that one though. I think, I don't know, foam bodied helicopter. It's overpriced. And I'm saying
360 size.
A place that sells Blade stuff that I think it's an overpriced for what it is, my opinion, and that is definitely not what I would start off with. But I get what you're saying on that one though.
It's a 360 size. It's $449.
Yeah,
retail.
I personally think something like that for me, if I was getting back into it. The biggest thing I look at, especially getting into that model specifically, is parts. when you get into really anything Blade, but even specifically that model that's a current Blade model, you know you can wreck it for the next 2 years and get parts. So that's really the biggest reason I would go into that. Reason being, let me explain my reasoning on that is if you get into another alternative, let's say, there's a lot of great other brands out there, so I'm not going to name drop. But if you get into something equivalent, the brands kind of move along, and if you're a newer guy to it, you may not realize where to look for discontinued parts, or you may not realize, things move as quick as they do in the hobby. And like I said, not to knock any of the other brands, there's a lot of great small beginner to middle companies. But I really think I still stand by that answer of I would stick with that helicopter because I know confidently I could fly it, have fun, learn, and get parts for the next couple of years.
Okay. All right, Mike. So
Yeah.
what would your one coming into it fresh, nothing, what's the very first thing you buy if you're interested in the hobby?
Just to kind of give my opinion on Aaron's
Okay.
thing there is I agree with him that if there's a lot of models out there that are similar in the beginner realm, and I think Blade would probably be the same brand that I would shoot for, not specifically the helicopter he mentioned, but that the brand, just because if Horizon hobby stuff starts disappearing, then the whole hobby itself is going to be gone because they have the biggest footprint in the hobby with Spectrum. Their whole E-Flight line, all that stuff is so like enrooted in the hobby that it's going to be there for forever. Now, it's probably not, the model's probably going to change and become something different, a newer version or whatever, but you're going to have support. You're going to have, people that know the product and stuff out there as long as the hobby exists, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I agree with going with the company, for sure, for the exact same reasons you stated. That model may not have been the best,
Right.
but that's okay. That's why we say have all the differences of opinion.
So, and now my option, I kind of have two that I'm torn between. They would be from the Blade product line. One is the new 120 that they just came out with, just because it's very similar to the OMP M1. And I have the OMP M1, and it's kind of Blade's response to that helicopter. It looks like I haven't flown one yet personally, but it's a collective pitch. It's small enough that you could go out there and hover it around, and if you crash it, as long as you're flying over grass, you're more than likely not going to break anything. And it kind of keeps you from that frustration that you get when you take something off and it goes in the ground 30 seconds later, and you're like, well, wow, I just spent $300 or $200 on this, and now it's a paperweight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Small enough that it can't really destroy itself when it hits the ground. They will break eventually. The other one would be any of the MCPX stuff, because it's basically the older version of what that M1 is accomplishing. So something in that area. The MCPX, the OMP M1 is a good one. The Goose Guy S1, not the S2 quite yet, because the S2 can be pretty fast and pretty hard, pretty easy to get behind on your controls with that thing because it moves fast. The M1 doesn't seem to have that characteristic to it as bad.
Okay.
So something in that area. It doesn't matter, Blade, OMP, whatever. I prefer the OMP stuff just because it's sold out of a hobby store. OMP Hobbies is Ohio Model Products, and it's something was started local here in Columbus, Ohio. As I live in Ohio, so I try to support them as much as I can.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But the Blade stuff, same thing.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense.
Agree. That was a good answer, definitely.
I see. I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to actually go with a simulator. I think if you're going to get started, maybe jump in, grab a simulator. You can try a couple different helis on there, and you're not going to have to crash anything. Or you crash, you can hit reset. You don't have the struggles of having to worry about setting something up. Actually, physically fixing something, having to run back out to the hobby store to pick something up. So I think if you get into a simulator for like $200, take it home, set it up. It's a little bit different experience, but it'll teach you some fundamentals to get you hovering, to get you moving around, to get you doing some flight. And then the other thing is, later down the line, once you have other helis, the simulator is still something that you don't outgrow. It's a usable tool for you to continue with. You can use now, do I want to learn to do this maneuver? I want to learn to do that maneuver, or I just want to go to inverted hovering. So I think it's something that you can always continually use in your journey along your way. And even when you get to advanced, because if it's an ugly day, a snowy day, something you can't get outside, you can use that to, sort of scratch that itch to fly. So I think if I was going in as a new total newbie, I would go for a simulator and try to get started off that way. That would be my answer.
I partially agree. I absolutely love simulators, and I think they do a great job. They're a lot of fun for even advanced pilots. I mean, you can turn on music, practice flight routines. I mean, I love them. I just don't think it gives you that real feel of excitement, of adrenaline, which any level pilot gets when you're flying. When you're learning to hover, I don't care if you're flying a Blade 120 and you're learning to hover. Your cheeks are puckered. You can feel the adrenaline going a little bit because you have that in the back of your mind of, oh, I shouldn't crash.
Right.
And I think that's part
but
of
I think
it.
that could be stage 2 of beginning.
Great to lean on.
That might be stage 2. So if we're talking, in stages, stage 1, you want to just learn how to hover without having to worry about the adrenaline or having to worry about anything. But once you get to stage 2 and you start moving around, then maybe you step up and actually get a fixed pitch heli like a 120 SR or the new heli or something small that you can maybe either fly in your basement, fly right in your backyard. And then it adds, I think it adds that into it. Now you start adding the pucker factor into it. Now you start adding, because the realism's there of if I crash, there's accountability to, I have to replace blades, I have to replace parts, kind of thing. And I think that would be step 2. But step 1 is just being able to hover and figure it out, which you can do on the simulator, because when you crash, you hit your space bar or whatever, and you reset and you're good to go.
I think you can go either way, honestly. I would put the simulator at step 2 just because, like Aaron said, I feel like you would get hooked a lot easier actually going out and physically flying.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Not like you're just, because I think you could sit in the bedroom. Like me, I can't stand simming. I know it's great, and I learned something on there, and it's taught me a lot. Like I would not even be half the pilot that I am without a simulator, and I'm not much of a pilot to begin with, but I like to not have a simulator. I think is silly at any stage. If you're going to be in the hobby and you're going to actually try to become, a better pilot, you need to have a simulator. It's a tool that you need to have. But I think the addiction is what needs to happen first, in my opinion, in order, like, you need to be excited about it. And to me, sitting in a computer chair, flying something on a screen isn't quite as exciting as actually going out there and trying to fly in real life.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that 110%. That excitement level is not necessarily there, for sure.
On the flip side, though, I have, to argue then to my dad's point, to play devil's advocate, having I'd been at the hobby shop for so many years, I definitely dealt with more people that would come in, it would be a father-son, hey, my son's interested in flying. They would get a simulator set up, maybe just the kid was interested in flying, or maybe just the dad was interested in flying. And then all of a sudden, a week later, they're both coming back in. They're both coming and looking for a helicopter for each of themselves. They want to know the proper steps to take, and it almost gets them both into it together. And I did see that scenario happen a lot where like families would get into it together, and that was really cool to see, because you see a grandson, a dad, and the grandfather all going out to the field together, all because they were just stuck inside on a rainy day playing on the simulator, and they went, oh, this is cool, let's do it in real life. So I think there's people that get into it for different reasons. But I still majority lean with Mike where, I personally think you need that addiction. You need that adrenaline feeling to go, oh yeah, I want to do this on the sim more. But I've seen it happen both ways. People just get absolutely hooked on the sim and go to real life, and that works too. There's no wrong path. Just kind of opinion here.
Yeah, no, you guys are everybody's entitled to their opinions. Yours are wrong and mine's right, of course, but that's just
so we used to have we have a hobby shop here that the guy actually wouldn't sell you a helicopter. You had to buy a simulator first, and he would say,
wow,
take this thing home. Every time you crash, put $1 in a bucket. When you got enough to buy a helicopter, come see me. And that's how he would sell.
People actually do that?
That's a little discouraging.
I don't know if anybody would actually do it. I just went to the other place and bought another helicopter.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I mean, that's kind of, we can, as being at the hobby shop, somebody comes in, I can give them my opinion, and this is what you want to do. But ultimately, man, if somebody comes in and has the money in their pocket and they're saying, "Look, I've never flown anything, but I want this big heli," and hey, look, you really shouldn't. You should do this. But if they're saying, "But I have the money and I want to buy it," then so be it.
Yeah.
As a business side of it, even though morally I would be telling them, "No, you're going to find somebody else to do this," kind of thing. But it's not a.
It does seem very gatekeepish, like if I was a newer guy in the hobby and someone told me that would put me off, and I would be like, wow, those heli guys are kind of dicks. I wouldn't really. That would almost deter me from even wanting to get into the hobby.
He was an older airplane guy.
Oh, there you go.
Makes sense.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah, those plankers, that's how they'll be sometimes.
Yeah. I was gonna say old planker, but I'm trying to remember that we're supposed to be touching all different aspects of the hobby, and I don't want to make the plankers mad that are listening to us.
The old plankers are the problem. The normal plankers are fine.
Yeah. We can make fun of plankers. We can make fun of the heli guys. I mean, whatever. We make fun of everybody. We're equal opportunity. We make fun of everyone the same. So it doesn't really much matter.
That's true.
We cover all aspects of the hobby. We make fun of everybody in the hobby and in all areas. It's all good. But okay, so we're kind of, our step 1s and step 2s are a little different, but they're sort of all in the same line there. So it's still kind of the same. And then as for, I guess that would kind of be covered, like if you're saying for size heli, your first heli when you're getting it, you want to keep, I think you want to keep something small. You don't want something big. Or are you guys saying you want something a little bit bigger to give you that adrenaline?
No, I think if you are never flew before, you're just starting, you need to keep something small, something that can't gut you like a fish if you fly into yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like super sketchy when you're first learning how the controls work and stuff. It gets away from you really fast and quite often. So until you can figure that out and maintain it in, a tail end hover or whatever, I think you should probably stick to something that would bounce off you if you were to hit you or somebody else.
I think back to, when I was starting off, the first heli I think I got was the Blade CX2. It was a coaxial helicopter. You take off and kind of move around, but it wasn't anything that special. And then from there, I think the very next heli I got, because simulators, I guess, were out, but I didn't know about them. And, being new into it, no one had sort of turned me down that path at all. The very next heli I got was a small fixed pitched. It was the MSR. At that point, I think I got the MSR, and I got my kids both the MCXs, maybe, I think, around that time. Yep. And that's what got them hooked. It was the small coaxial, which quickly became them getting MSRs. And it was fixed pitch, nothing special. And then we used to buzz around in the basement, and then taught us a lot of orientations, a lot of nose in, just going nose in, side, just getting the general feel of them. And then control of, we actually put, I can't remember if we put tape on the floor, we put paper plates on the floor, and we used to number them as 1, 2, 3. And I'd say to the kids, okay, you land on 2, take off, land on 1. And then
cool.
It gave them something to do. And then we started timing it. We're like, okay, we take off, who can take off and get over to spot 2 and land in the quickest time. And we made little competitions out of that, with these small helis. And that's what kind of got us going with them. And then ultimately, by just doing those little things, it made us a lot better on the controls without necessarily realizing it, until I think Aaron was the first one to decide to go to the MCPX, because I definitely wasn't ready for that yet.
You argued with me trying to buy that. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, you wanted
what? I just realized something while you were talking, Bob. Blade does something that no other brand offers, and that is they have like stepping stones.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I remember, because I went through a similar process. Like you get the coaxial, and then you master that, and you're like you're working towards being able to get to the fixed pitch.
Right.
And then once you master that, you're while you're trying to master that, you're working towards trying to get to the. So it kind of feeds your addiction at the same time. No other brand out there does that right now.
Not from beginning, like OMP. I have an OMP, the M2 Evo, and I love the thing. But when you get into those, they don't have the ones that are the starter ones, And
right.
This is where we went back to, I think it was last episode, we were talking about people liking to shit on Blade. However, Blade is what brings people into it. they're the ones where somebody goes, look, I got an extra $100 or 150, whatever it is.
Yep.
And they get that small fixed pitch and just to go, I think I'm going to tinker. And then it hooks them. And then they're like, oh, this is great. Yeah. And then you can move on to something bigger. But it does. That's why I've always liked Blade. And, they've had some things that I didn't like. But overall, their whole brand, the way they go from beginning on up, it does. It works for the beginner all the way through.
Yeah.
And I really love that incremental move up because, kind of to add on to what he was saying, where the next heli really I would think to recommend would be just the next size up, getting into a 360. I thank our lucky stars that we incrementally went up in size helis because some of the mistakes we made with some of the small helis, before we knew safety, before we knew a lot of this stuff, when we thought we knew, there would have been some really bad accidents. I can think of one. We had a helicopter. Again, we didn't know we were working on it. Spooled up to full power. Went up in our basement. Shattered all our lights. It did a bunch of damage. We're kicking it on the floor to get it to stop.
Blade CP Pro.
Yep. I say working up incrementally because I've seen people jump from a small helicopter and go, I got it, right up to a 700. All these flybarless systems have the auto self-upright. They have this, they have that. However, it's not even the flying portion, it's the safety when you're working on it. Are you advanced enough that you're going to remember to unplug one of the motor wires? Something as stupid as that where you don't know it all yet, and it's a safety hazard even for you to work on it. And I am so thankful we didn't jump from the small stuff right to a 5, 6, 700 because we may not, be in as great a health, to say the least.
So, and to kind of expand upon that, so it was a Blade CP Pro or CP Pro 2 heli. Yep. Everything that happened with it, there was no fault of equipment. It was total user error. It was all my fault. I own up to it. Because the heli was live sitting on my table and I was trying to make some changes and I inadvertently reversed the throttle. And as soon as I reversed the throttle, it spooled up to full and it shot up. And it was idiotic on my part because like Aaron said, I just didn't have the motor disconnected. I didn't know enough. I was still a newbie at it and didn't think enough to disconnect the motor because I didn't think I was going to be that stupid to do something like that. But apparently I was that stupid and I did it anyway. It was an accident. It was a slip of a thumb. I was trying to reverse something else and reversed the wrong thing. It was a total accident, but accidents happen. And I had a fluorescent shop light above my table where I was working. It shot up, hit the fluorescent bulbs, and the bulbs blew apart. And heli came falling back to the ground. And I kicked it under the table, and because it was kind of doing the chicken dance. But it was good times. It was interesting. But that was my fault.
Room for mistakes.
Yep.
There's room for mistakes and room for error with the small stuff. With 700s, this is one of the few hobbies in the world where you absolutely cannot make a mistake like that. That will be your last mistake. And that's something that, you can't just jump into. You need to like really, really, truly respect it and understand, all the workings behind it because as you out very quickly.
Yeah. So I had a similar issue when I was coming through my growing pains. I had a Blade SR that was set up with the linear throttle curve. Where you start at 0 and you move the stick up and it would slowly spool up, all the way up to 100. And I was working on it, had the radio sitting on the table and had the helicopter in my hand. Went to go set it back on the table and the tail fin actually caught the throttle stick and moved it all the way up while I was holding it. And it started to spool up and I had my hand on the main gear and I tried to squeeze the main gear as hard as I could to stop it from spinning and it like ground away all my skin off my hand. And then I'm like bear hugging it because the blades are beating me in the chest as it's trying to spool up. And then eventually I just chucked it out into the middle of the floor and grabbed the radio and started hitting stuff until I finally found what was going on,
Figured out the hip throttle hold or something.
Yeah, I seen the throttle stick was all the way up. I pulled it down and it stopped.
Okay, yeah, it's scary when that stuff happens when you're new and that something happens and you don't have that experience.
Yeah, I think if you're new, that something like that is going to happen.
Yes.
You're gonna make a mistake. And I think that's why it's important to start small when you're coming through this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just own your mistakes. Own up to them. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
And you make the mistake. That's why I have no problem telling people I've made a ton of mistakes in this hobby, learning how to do stuff. I've also learned some pretty cool stuff by making mistakes, that were happy accidents where I'm like, oh, I wanted to learn that had I not been, had I not made the mistake. But yeah, I think that gets you kind of going through those beginner parts of, it's not just a heli, it's you itself. As you go from smaller heli to a little bit bigger, you're learning the working on them and you're learning, more than just the flying skills, the maintenance skills and what goes along with it to make the thing fly, you're learning as well.
Yeah.
So At what point do you guys feel is the time to step into, like, say, a 500 size or a 550 size?
Well, hang on one second. Before you get there, I was going to say one question I have before that is before you go to 500, or maybe it could still be along the same lines, is at what point, where along the line, or what size heli do you feel then to do your first flip? Do you do it with something smaller, or do you want to do it with something bigger where you'd feel it's more stable? What do you think on that one, Mike? Or would you say, learn on an MCPX, or do you wait until you get that 500 size heli to try to do your first flip?
No, my first flip was actually on an MCPX.
Okay.
And it was in the parking lot at my work. I was trying to show one of the guys I worked with how I can hover it around.
Yeah.
And he was egging me on, trying to get me to do a flip, and I tried it, and I actually did one successfully. It was all over the place, but I actually did one. I was like freaking out.
Right.
I kind of got peer pressured into doing my first flip, but remembering how like out of control that thing was when I was flipping it, because mostly probably because it was an MCPX. The tail doesn't stay straight. It kind of, as you load it, the tail kind of blows out a little ways, and you're putting inputs in that aren't going the right direction.
Right. Yep.
It just kind of gets a little crazy. So I would say probably I would wait until I was on something like a 360 size. It's a little more solid.
Okay, yeah, that's good. My first flip was on a 500.
Oh, geez.
Well, let me put it this way: the first successful flip, because I tried the MCPX and I flew that thing like absolute dog shit. I couldn't fly it. I don't know what it was. I would just, anything I would try to do on that thing, I just did not gel with that heli at all, and could not do anything with it. So I had the Blade SR, and then once I was hovering, I kind of had an MCPX, and then I ended up almost right away getting the Blade 400. They're all flybarred helis yet still, because we've been doing it a while. But then real shortly after that, I'm like, I saw this T-Rex 500. I got to get one of these, and I did that. And anytime I tried to flip an MCPX or the small ones, I couldn't do it. It was all over. And I was outside one day, and I'm like, I'm going to try it with a 500. And it went right around. So yeah, it was kind of funny. My first successful flip was on a 500 size.
I think a pretty situational question you're asking, what heli to get into on flipping. Honestly, I'll start it off with I'm cheap. I like to start with the cheap stuff that's going to be cheap to fix and cheap to crash. However, if you have the money and you have the land, or you have a proper field where you can safely do it at, and you have deep enough pockets, why not go buy a Goblin 700 or a Tron 700 and try it? Just understand going into it that there's always going to be rebuilding. No matter how much you try and how good you get at flipping, you're always gonna crash learning new maneuvers. But I think if you're honestly getting into it and you are at the point where you can fly around comfortably in all your upright orientations safely, I'd say if the pockets are deep enough, do it. Get whatever heli you want, go fly it, have fun with it. At that point, as long as you're being safe, like I said, as long as you have the proper size backyard to fly a 700, if you have a proper size field where you're not endangering any other spectators or the other field members, have at it.
What do you think on that, Mike?
I agree. I think that's fair. The only difference I would say is the part where you said, like, if you have the room or the pockets to do a 700. I think people probably want to, like, helicopter guys want to flip before they can do circuits.
Yeah.
So I would say they probably shouldn't be getting it, in my opinion, be getting into a 700 when they're still working on doing their first flip. You know what I mean?
It's sort of a double-edged sword, though, because as you're hearing, if you're around guys that talk about it, the bigger they are, the bigger that disc is, the more stable they are.
Right,
the better they fly,
that's
and the more comfortable
they
feel.
fly way more stable.
Exactly. So you think, it's going to be better. Just the pucker factor is a little bit increased. So I get that's where Aaron says, if your pockets are deep enough, because if you crash a 700, it's a lot more expensive than crashing an MCPX. But
it's a lot more exhilarating to fly.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I fly low.
It's a lot easier.
That quick adrenaline.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the first time I spooled up a T-Rex 450 I built. It was the first 450 size helicopter I had. It was on a 3-cell, and I actually hit throttle hold halfway through the spool up because I was getting nervous about how fast it was spinning up.
That's actually same on my Blade
terrified
400.
of it.
Yep. Exact same thing happened for me for my Blade 400. I had it and I started spooling it up, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound right, and I hit hold. I'm like, oh, that sounds absolutely crazy. And
yep, I'm like, it keeps going and going. I'm like stepping back. I'm like,
this isn't right. Something's wrong with it. Yeah, no, exactly the same thing happened to me on the Blade 400 when I tried to spool it up until you left it go and then went, oh, this is actually kind of cool.
You did that with your 500 too.
Yeah, the 500 was nerve-wracking.
That again, going back to we should have known better safety. Don't
even go there with this one.
Proves our point of I was sitting up in my room one day and he finishes the 500, and if anyone's seen any of our YouTube videos of us flying in our basement, it's not massive. And I hear this man spooling up a T-Rex 500 in our basement and he's hovering it in our basement as a maiden flight.
Yeah, I did.
And that's again one of those things we look at and go, we wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I look at it now and I set the 500 down and I'm like, I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't do that before.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing when I see these videos.
In the living room, like pushing the furniture out of the way.
When you laugh when you see these videos, there's that one video that circulates around with guys like trying to spool up a 700 like in his living room, and a plastic bag comes off the shelf.
Yeah,
you see that?
It's a terrible idea to do that.
It is. It's an awful idea. So that's don't do what we did. It's really unless you live in a really big house.
Was spooling up a 450 in his basement. You know who I'm talking about. He was spooling up a 450 in his basement on a fresh build right before IRCHA, and the blades spit across the room into his wall.
Oh, jeez.
Coming before the event. So, and again, thank God he didn't get hit.
Why am I can't remember who that was.
I'll tell you off Discord.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember that one. Although that reminds me, this is off topic, and I'm sorry because we see something shiny sometimes here, and we got to go there. But our first IRCHA with the Blade 450, Aaron was flying, and we were still new to this, and he was doing some mild 3D stuff, and it was one of the coolest things still to date that I ever seen. Is he was doing side TikToks with a Blade 450, and the feathering spindle let go, and this thing was the weirdest thing because he came up at the right moment and the heli just looked like it completely stopped midair sideways with the head towards us, and the blades shot out perfectly parallel with the ground, one going to our right, one going to our left, and they just shot equal distance way far away. So we saw blade flying off in either direction, and this heli just for a moment looked like it was just suspended in air, not moving, not doing anything until it fell. And it was one of the coolest things, and we stood there looking at each other with our mouths open going, what the hell just happened? Like, you gotta be kidding me. And it was, the feathering spindle must have loosened up, and again, being new, didn't know the maintenance, didn't check over it as often as I should have. And the thing just let go, and it was still, I just wish I would have had video something, because it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
And that's all stuff, again, I'm very lucky I was sideways and not, doing TikToks in our face, in front of us upright, and those would have spat out and hit us.
Yeah, it could have shot off and hurt somebody.
Just due to dumb, simple, I didn't check the feathering spindle, I didn't unplug the motor, I didn't, dumb stuff can really cause such a huge mistake.
And if you get a chance, if you're new to it and you live near anywhere where they're doing a fun fly, go to the fun fly. Even if you're taking your 450 size heli or whatever, or even if you really don't want to fly, go and talk to people. Talk about their journey into helis, look at what helis they have, look at what equipment they use, what radios are out there, and you learn a lot by going to one of those events. You can walk up to pretty much anybody at one of these events and talk to them, and they'll be happy to show you what they have, and tell you stories of things. So if you get that opportunity, definitely make it happen. If you've been in the hobby for a while and haven't been to a fun fly, make it happen.
I agree.
Go to one of these weekend events, go do something. If you get a chance, go to IRCHA. I really do kind of have a feeling I think IRCHA is going to come back and be pretty big again. I will say, Augie, I was a little skeptical when he stepped into this last year and the way they sort of took over everything. But looks like he's doing a hell of a job with it. They elected all the new board members, and so I'm trying to figure out a way to make IRCHA happen, and I think I'm going to try to do it this year. But that's one of the biggest events there is, heli events there is, and if you get a chance to ever do it, I say do it for sure in Muncie, Indiana. But so what? We got off topic there with a whole bunch of things with what helis, what you get when. I'm trying to think of what I wanted to.
Safety related.
What's that?
I said it was all kind of safety related.
Oh yeah, it is. It is all sort of tied together. But then we just sort of went, saw something shiny, got sidetracked with other stuff. But like, at what point do you feel, I know, Mike, you said about, maybe not getting the 700. So at what point do you go, well, I'm good? Do you think once you have all your upright orientations and you can fly circuits comfortably, you can do figure eights, you can do circles, you can hover in all orientations, is that the point you get the 700, you think?
Yes. So currently we have a new helicopter pilot that just started flying this summer, actually, at our club, and
Right.
he started with bought some OMPs, some blade stuff, was hovering around in safe mode, built a Blade 480, and had, I don't remember if it was the Spectrum fiberless, whatever. He had like a self level mode set up in it so he could fly it around and safe and all that stuff. And like can just like 2 weeks ago started to kind of enter into moving the helicopter around from a hover.
Yeah.
Where he's like going to one side, then sliding back to the other side, getting a little bit of side in and stuff going. And he's got money burning in his pocket, and so since he started this year, he bought a 480. He had a Blade 360 as well. That's the one he was flying on safe. So then he bought the 480.
Yeah, this is the same one that bought other stuff because
500.
Yeah, because people were shitting on Blade, so he went and bought Goblin stuff.
He went and bought a Goblin 500, and then he just messaged me last week and told me he bought a Puma.
Oh my god!
That he's going to be putting it together.
Okay.
So I have to sit down with him probably this weekend, and I'm going to have a come to Jesus chat with him about the Puma. Yeah. And just tell him, put it together, use it as a building tool to learn how to build, but do not fly that thing until you're ready for it.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah. So like that we have had so many people come to our club that try to get into a 700 way before they're ready, and it's nothing but nerve-wracking for everybody around them because you could tell that they barely have control of it, and it's stable, and I think that's the only reason they get away with it. But it's so sketchy because guys are just, they have no sense of the real danger that's there, it seems. Because they don't, they haven't been around long enough to see what kind of damage those things can do,
Which is another reason
so
to
I
talk
think
to people
once you're flying circuits and you can actually control the helicopter and put it where you want to put it, and maybe you have a couple crashes under your belt so kind of, how serious the stuff is, then you could probably entertain the idea of a 700, in my opinion.
Right. I agree 100% with that. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, and kind of to touch on that last part Mike said, really about learning orientation and all that extra BS kind of we touched on. However, the biggest thing is learning to crash safely. I think once you learn to crash safely, as dumb as it sounds, and I'll kind of go into that, then I think you'd be a lot safer. Learning the basics is not really fighting it into the ground, learning to keep it away from the flight line, learning that throttle hold really is your best friend as a newer pilot. I think once you learn some of those steps, then absolutely jump into a 700. But if you're, crashing, you lose orientation, and your first thought is not to just hit hold. As a newer pilot, I don't think you're there yet because, kind of what Mike said, you can put other people in jeopardy. Even if you're not close, if you look like you're completely out of whack and you look like, you're Helen Keller out there with a helicopter, it's scary. That can ruin someone's day. I know personally we've been at fun flies where we know when certain people are going out, don't turn your back to the flight line. And it's nerve-wracking. It's not fun. That's never a fun situation. It's not funny. It's not, and some of those guys will make a joke about it, how bad and how unsafe they are. And it's not any of that. It's just irresponsible to the spectators and to other staff and people at the field, or other people just trying to fly and have fun, with their kids or whatever. I would say once you learn to crash safely and you learn those quick instincts of, okay, throttle hold, keep it away from the flight line. I'll eat the helicopter. I don't care if I completely destroy the helicopter as long as I keep it away from people.
Right.
Once you get those core basics kind of through your head and it becomes instinct, then jump up into a bigger helicopter. At least in a public field setting. If you're in your backyard and you have 50 acres and you're just flying privately, go ahead. If you're going to be stupid enough to hurt yourself and you don't want to take the time to understand safety, jump right into it. But if you're going to fly to public field with other people, do not put others in jeopardy.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And if you're questioning on whether you know how if you're crashing safely yet or not, a good telltale sign is if you crash and the safety wires wrapped around your main shaft from your blades, you're not ready for a 700.
Yeah, it took you too long to hit hold.
Yeah, you should not have anything twisted up around your blades. Your blades, if they crack, it should just be a crack. They shouldn't be twisted. About,
like the newer pilot type of crashes. I'm not talking about doing hard TikToks on the ground and whoops, I'm talking you're flying 30, 40 feet in the air. A average pilot has time to think and recover it from that. And if you can't recover it and can't do that, I agree with Mike. You're just not there yet.
Yeah, we actually had to remove a guy from our fun fly a few years ago. He came out as an older guy flying a 700, had no business flying a 700. Luckily, it was on a Sunday when we were kind of cleaning up. He showed up late and wanted to do some flights. He had his AMA. We'd never seen the guy before. He's from a totally different club. Said, yeah, have at it, man. We're just tearing the stuff down, and we're pulling pop-up canopies down on the flight line. And all of a sudden, this 700 comes and hits the ground underneath the canopy that we're tearing apart. The head with the blades go one way, the rest of the helicopter goes the other way. The body of the helicopter with the tail boom went and actually hit one of the guys helping us clean up. The tail blades hit him in his thigh, like flat ways. So it didn't cut him, it just kind of like whacked him. And the guy never hit hold the whole time that happened. And we actually had to yell out to him to turn it off because it was just sitting there. Even after it went through all that, lost the head, it hit the other guy, and it's still sitting there full throttle, laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's inexcusable. There's no...
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no, oh, whoops, it was an accident. Hey, I'm sorry. That's an automatic, get the hell out of here. Don't come back.
That's pretty much what it was. We did not make friends with that guy that day. We had some choice words for him. Told him never to come back because it's, like you said, it's irresponsible. You're going to a public event. You don't need to be putting people into that kind of position that are there to enjoy themselves,
Yep. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, safety, from the little ones to the big ones, whatever, anywhere in between there. You got to be safe with these things. They're flying lawnmowers, basically, especially when you get to the big size. But the little ones can hurt too. You can have one of the small ones in your hands, and if you're not careful and it spools up and, you're letting if you have kids around and they're not, you got to have whoever's around teach them so they know what to touch, not to touch, where to stand, where not to go. Because the last thing you want to do is be holding a helicopter in your hand and some kid comes over and just cranks up the throttle on you or hits buttons and kicks you out of hold or whatever the case may be.
Or steps on your radio.
Yeah. That's a whole other story. And then, so you just want to make sure that, everyone around is safe, or you just got to make sure you keep your radio in your hand and keep your stuff with you at all times. But safety is key. Too much stuff can happen in this stuff, in this hobby, unfortunately. But it's a great hobby to be in. I've been doing it now for, I think, 15 years or so. And this year I definitely have gotten that spark back to kick it up again a little bit more. So I knew I was getting back into it. I just didn't think I was going to get back into it this hard. But yeah, here we go. I'm diving in, head first on this one again. And it's fun.
It.
What's that?
I said I love it.
Yeah, I do too. That's why you got to get something bigger again.
Probably will.
Or two bigger. You get two bigger ones. That way you have some backups.
I got a weird feeling I'll have a bigger size nitro before I go to Urcha this year.
Yeah, because you can't go to Urcha with a small heli, just a 420.
I know. I'm kind of like, I'm realizing that I'll probably be the guy showing up to Urcha with a 450.
Yeah.
No. I hear some dual night flights with me and Mike at Urcha.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple just some nice friendly teas,
There you go.
Here we go. Back. It's all back to the twisted. See, it comes right back around.
Yeah, just spend a half hour or an hour and a half talking about safety, and
we're
circling back to twisted teas.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
And it's like, let's get some twisted teas up in us, and we'll go flying under some car headlights, and it'll be good to go.
After the festivities.
Yeah, that video's out there if you want to see some car headlight flying.
Oh, I know.
Not safe either. Again, you can look up all the unsafe stuff I've done. If you want to see some really unsafe stuff, just go check out my old YouTube channel. There's plenty.
Nice. I don't know if those are on your YouTube channel, though.
The night flight where we were under the lights at a completely unrestricted area there, I think...
Yeah, I don't think that was there was a flight that way maybe up there, but I don't think the headlight one was up there. I don't know.
It's somewhere on YouTube. If you look for it, it's somewhere out there, and I'm glad no Urcha board members saw that.
Yeah. we'll see how the new board's going to be. Hopefully, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited about it this year.
I'm getting there too. I'm getting a little excited myself. I think it's going to be a good time. Got to work out some details as far as what I can do to make it happen, but I'm kind of getting excited about it. I think it'll be good, even though I got to figure out how many days I'm actually going to be able to be there.
Yeah.
But Aaron and I'll have to work that one out. We'll see.
You tell me. I'm just tagging along. You tell me how long we're going. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we'll sort it out. We'll be good. We're gonna have a couple more episodes by then anyway, so we'll keep you all posted on what's gonna go on. Because if we can make Urcha happen, I think we have to do a live podcast from out at Urcha. I think that would be a good thing to do.
That'd be fun.
I think that would be a good time. Maybe get some other guys from the other podcasts involved on it and make it some big plethora thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Of course, we'd have the rights to it, since it's our idea.
Yeah.
Wouldn't leave them play it or use it or anything.
They probably don't know we exist anyway, so
probably
they
not. Unless our two listeners might tell them. We might be
We're
up to 3
up to 2 now.
We might be up to 3. Yeah, it's getting there. We're climbing. We're hitting big time now. Yeah,
we
can still count.
My grandma finally clicked follow.
Nice. All right. Well, you guys got anything to add to our?
I would say
mix of everything.
If you're getting into helicopters and you somehow stumbled across this podcast and you have questions, concerns, you want advice, whether it's good or not, that's up in the air. But feel free to reach out to us. We have a Facebook page you can message us on. You can message all of us personally through our Facebook. It's probably the easiest way.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us would be more than happy to help you, get you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Definitely, along that lines too, anyone that's listening, if you ever have any suggestions on what you'd like to hear, if you want to be part of the podcast and you want to be on as a guest sometime and just kind of shoot the shit with all of us and, see what kind of things we can see, and when we see something shiny, change the subject, whatever. But shoot us a message and we can try to make that happen too. Just all about trying to have some fun, and they definitely are so far. But we want to add some educational things in here as well. Maybe helping people getting into the hobby and starting off. And hopefully this episode has maybe helped somebody. We can be cliche, and if we help just one person get into the hobby. I wish I had some of that Sarah McLachlan music like they used for the animals. You know what they did? Maybe I'll have to go back and see when I'm editing this if I can do that. When they used to do that for the pets, for the sad dogs.
That's why when I go out to dinner, I always eat 2 steaks.
Why?
You know why? So it cancels out a vegan somewhere down the line.
Nice. No, I mean those commercials where they have the dogs and they always have that sad music playing. I can put that music over the background. If we've helped just one person in this hobby become a better pilot. With that playing, I think it'll be good.
Did you ever listen to RC Heli Nation?
Yes.
Remember when they did the one about the fly bars?
It's been a long time. I'd be lying if I said I remember, but I know I used to listen to a bunch of them.
It was that same exact commercial thing that you were just talking about, but they were talking about save the fly bar because all the people were switching to fly bar lists at the time.
Yep. That's great.
That's fun.
That was pretty good.
That's something we could do too. If we definitely know we're going to Urcha, we should do something. Everybody bring out some flybar helis and have a big the flybar party.
Hell yeah.
Still has flybar helis.
Get some flybars, 600s, 700s. Get some.
You're going to have to rent them out.
Night flight flybar shit going on. The biggest thing flybar, unfortunately, I have anymore is a 500. So.
Do you have a 500 or is that my 500?
You have the 500 and Derek still has a 500 that's flybarred. Unfortunately, I got suckered into selling mine. Yours. Yeah.
I told you not to sell it.
I know it. There's a lot of stuff I shouldn't have sold and I sold, but is what it is. We'll just deal with it.
I'll let you beat on my old T-Rex 500 for a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
You should bring a flybar heli to Urcha because I've never flown one, like a big one.
Oh, really?
No, I want to fly one.
It's a good time. His poor 500's been through a lot and only ever been crashed. That one's only ever been crashed once, and that was at Urcha.
Oh well, I'll change that.
The Raptor 30s. That would be a pleasure for Mike to fly.
That's how I learned all my forward flight and circuit flying was on a Raptor 30.
Electric?
No, nitro.
Oh yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, I don't have it anymore, but I had a Raptor 30. I took the Thunder Tiger engine out of it and I put an OS engine in. I had a Hattori pipe on it. I had all good Futaba servos. Everything was a pretty good setup. 401
I didn't know
gyro.
You had a nitro.
Yeah. And then I used that to fly.
What
learned
happened?
A lot of orientations, all my stuff. It was just a pain in the ass to clean up and deal with it. And I discovered electric was easier. Plug it in and go. That's what happened.
Some bitch on the wall and let it
What?
No. Go buy a drip pan from AutoZone, hang it on the wall, and let it drip.
If you say so. Maybe Nitro will be there someday again. We'll see. I'm not rolling anything out because, the bug had bit me pretty hard.
Hey, you're on a roll this year. I think if we're gonna talk you into Nitro, it's gonna have to be this year.
That would probably be the closest thing to it. I don't know. We'll see. This would be the year probably to make it happen.
All right. If it's ever gonna happen, this is our only chance.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we'll keep going if we don't stop here. So we're gonna stop so you don't have to listen to too long of all this mess. But thank you for everybody listening to our little shit show we have going on here. That is Full Podcast RC. We appreciate all our listeners. All three of you.
Full podcast.
The full
podcast.
Did I say full podcast?
Yes.
Oh, see, I don't even know the name of our own damn show. Full Package RC podcast.
There you go.
My God. Yeah, whatever. It's one of those things. We appreciate you for listening.
Getting late.
It is. It's getting late and got the work thing, all that kind of good stuff. But thank you guys. We look forward to hearing from you, and we will see you in the next episode. You all have a great night.
See you guys.